Welcome to Eldritch Events channel. We're thrilled to have you here. If you're a fan of all things horror, paranormal, and bizarre, please hit the like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future content. So let's get started. Chris, a native of Arkansas, describes that his home state is known for Bigfoot stories. However, he has a different supernatural experience to share. He wishes that he had encountered an aggressive prehistoric man instead of what he experienced. This incident happened when he was 20 years old and took his Aunt Patty camping to cheer her up during her divorce battle. Patty played a significant role in Chris's life by taking him hunting, fishing, and camping during his childhood. She was like a father figure to him since his mother did not like outdoor activities and his father was not present. Chris took his Aunt Patty to a new spot he had recently discovered with a couple of friends. The location required a decent hike, but the stunning mountain views made it worth the effort. His aunt was delighted with the place and repeatedly expressed her desire to make it her new spot, which made Chris happy. They gathered wood and enjoyed some whiskey by the fire until it got dark. It was a peaceful evening, with just the two of them keeping warm and catching up. At one point, Patty began to cry as she spoke about her abusive ex, but they talked everything through until she felt better. It was like a therapy session in the woods. Although the focus was mostly on her well-being, Chris was comforted to know that he could be there for her, as she had always been there for him. After a few minutes, Patty left the fire to relieve herself in the woods. She wasn't gone for long, but she was a different woman when she returned. Approaching the fire with a severe curve in her spine, Patty leaned her torso to one side and stood staring emotionless at the flames. Chris noticed her strange behavior and asked her what was happening. She turned her eyes slowly toward him and stared through him, sending shivers down his spine. He waved his hands and called out her name, but she remained unresponsive, looking as if she wasn't fully conscious. Fearing she had suffered a stroke, Chris walked around the fire and placed his hands on her shoulders, repeatedly asking if she was okay. She didn't speak or move and continued to stare at him. Chris attempted to seat her in her chair to prevent her from falling over, but she suddenly hissed and bit his arm with a strong force, latching her teeth into his skin. He cried out in pain and pulled away from her. The incident left Chris terrified and confused as to what could have caused such a drastic change in his beloved aunt. After being attacked by his own aunt, Chris scolded her and tended to his bleeding wound. However, Patty didn't seem to realize what she had done and gave him a bloody smile before crawling away on all fours like an animal. Though terrified, Chris refused to abandon his aunt and set out to find her with his headlamp. He repeatedly called out her name while searching, convinced that she had been possessed by a demon. As a Christian, he believed that evil preys on those who are weak or suffering, and Patty had been vulnerable due to her ongoing divorce. Despite being unsure of how to help her, Chris remained determined to find her. As he continued to search for his aunt in the woods, Chris called out her name repeatedly, hoping to find her soon. He had never dealt with the paranormal before, so he was unsure of how to help her. All he knew was that he had to find her. Eventually, he came across her perched on a boulder, her body illuminated by the moonlight. When he shone the headlamp on her, she was already staring at him, smiling with his blood in her teeth. He began chanting and praying, calling on the name of Jesus to release the evil that had taken hold of his aunt. Whenever he mentioned Jesus' name, Patty would wail in pain and thrash her body against the rock. Noticing Patty's discomfort with the mention of Jesus' name, Chris started yelling it repeatedly. "Jesus, save us! Jesus, bless us with the power of Jesus!" She then leaped onto him, tackling him to the ground and trying to bite, but Chris was stronger. He rolled on top of her, pinned her down, and continued announcing his prayers. Patty thrashed around violently, trying to escape his grip. After about 5 minutes of this struggle, Patty fell asleep just as Chris felt his body grow weak. She closed her eyes, dropped her head against the ground, and completely lay limp within the blink of an eye. Chris carried Patty back to their camp spot and placed her in his tent so he could look after her. He removed his cross necklace and put it around her neck for protection, then continued to pray for the remainder of the night, not daring to stop or close his eyes. When Patty woke up late in the morning, she immediately threw up inside the tent. Chris asked how she felt, and Patty said her head was pounding and that she must have drunk too much whiskey. She had no memory of the previous night. Chris told her to sit outside while he packed up to leave. Patty asked for more time to recover, but Chris insisted that they had to leave immediately. After securing their belongings and driving away, Chris recounted everything that had happened the previous night. Patty seemed more horrified listening to the story than he was while dealing with it. She demanded to be taken to church immediately. Since that day, Patty has left salt trails by all the doors and windows of her house and sages her home weekly to prevent evil spirits from entering, and they vowed never to return to that mountain again. He would never forget the experience he had with his mother while they were driving home from his high school soccer game. Living in a rural part of Florida, there was little else to see except for cattle fields and ranches for miles. Whenever they drove home, he often became lost in his thoughts, observing the desolate scenery around them. Being a single parent, his mother worked long hours to support both of them, which often left them both exhausted and quiet during their drives. Suddenly, the boy shouted, "What is that?" as they passed by a field where he saw a large beast with dark hair kneeling beside a dead cow. His mother hit the brakes in surprise, thinking he was referring to something on the road. Livestock often escaped confinement and walked onto the streets, so she worried that she had missed something due to her exhaustion. What is it?" she asked, startled by her son's sudden outburst. "There's something back there," he said. It looked like it was eating a cow. Skeptical, his mother insisted that his eyes had played tricks on him, but she complied when he asked her to reverse the vehicle. "Stop! There it is!" he exclaimed as the creature came into view. Chills ran up his spine as he saw that the animal had turned to stare directly at their car. It was difficult to notice at first because of how dark it was outside, and its fur and dark face blended well with the environment. As the boy and his mother tried to identify the mysterious creature, it suddenly rose onto its hind legs, revealing its enormous size. Although it stood on 2 feet, the boy could tell that it was not a human, but a rare animal with an incredibly muscular build and unnaturally long arms. Despite being separated by a fence, the pair still felt threatened by the beast. The animal's movement only added to their fear, as it swayed like an ape and appeared ready to charge. Sensing danger, the mother shifted the car into drive and began to move forward. The creature quickly began to run towards them, revealing its massive size as it closed in on the vehicle. The boy shouted at his mother to go faster, as the creature was gaining on them. His mother seemed more focused on watching the creature in her rear-view mirror than getting away from it. The animal easily hopped over the fence and continued running towards their car. The boy couldn't believe what he was seeing and thought he was in a nightmare. They had never seen or heard of anything like it in the area before. The chase lasted for what felt like an eternity, but eventually the creature seemed to slow down. The boy suspected it might have been a bluff charge to scare them, but the thought of what could have happened if it caught up to them was still terrifying. He regretted asking his mother to reverse the car and felt like he had nearly gotten them both killed. After arriving home, the boy and his mother felt safe, knowing that they had friendly neighbors who were armed and could help them if the creature followed them home. The boy remembered his mother calling the creature an ape man, which made him realize that it could have been a primate. He was surprised that he hadn't thought of that earlier, given that the animal had a build that resembled an orangutan's, but more muscular. During the encounter, the boy initially thought the creature was more like an ogre or troll due to its somewhat human-like face, only much uglier. Recently, the boy read some volumes from the Bigfoot Frightening Encounters series and was surprised to learn that these creatures come in various shapes and sizes, with subtypes within the species. The idea that multiple kinds of these animals exist is hard for him to wrap his head around, considering most scientists have trouble acknowledging even one of them. The boy's family lived in the same location for another 4 years, but never witnessed anything like the Sasquatch again, although on several occasions, the boy heard eerie noises in the middle of the night. They always sounded distant and could have come from something else entirely. The boy's mother, however, has never fully accepted the idea that what they saw was a Sasquatch. She believes it was some crazy man who ran towards their car. The boy found her denial frustrating, but he understood that it was her way of coping with the experience. He used to argue with her, but eventually he came to empathize with her. He often wondered how many people had sightings of such things, but refused to acknowledge what they saw. The boy questions why society seems to have such difficulty accepting the existence of Sasquatches. He wonders what kind of irrefutable evidence is required to prove their existence, and why there appears to be a powerful effort to keep it all a secret. The more he thought about it, the less sense it made to him. He believes that if people see these creatures, it is better to generate discussion and try to get to the bottom of what these things are. Thanks for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed it and that it left you feeling scared, intrigued, or just plain entertained. We're always eager to hear from our viewers. So if you have any comments, questions, or ideas for future content, drop them in the comments section below. And if you have your own personal stories that you'd like to share, feel free to email us. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future content. And if you know someone who loves horror, paranormal, or scary stories, please share our channel with them. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.